And with that, it's another morning here in the studio, Studio 10-4 Live, the morning drive with you. JT here. And I got everybody else in the green rooms waiting to get out. This morning we have a special guest on this morning. Great guy, Chris Fifey, going to be on the show with us. And most of you, I'm sure, know of, heard of, seen of somewhere, Chris Fifey or Big Rig Videos. And Chris has been around the industry for quite a while doing what he does, and only as he does it, just making us all look good out there, and certainly capturing some of the nicest, finest rides out on the road in our industry and at the shows and different places throughout the country. So glad to have Chris on board. Got some good shows lining up. So we've already got guests for the, if I'm not mistaken, next couple of weeks already lined up. So we're looking good. We did an article in the magazine just this month on this gentleman coming up on the 8th. So check it out in the June edition. And it is an article by John and Kim Jakes, and it's called A Tribute to His Dad. And it's about Dave Hiley, who is the dad, and John, who is currently running this bus around the country, and amongst other things. Of course, he's trucking out there. I talked to John yesterday, and we got it secured for 2 weeks from today. We'll have John back in the studio. We've had John here before, but now that the bus is done, and of course, our co-host Brandon is pretty important guy in that process. We'll get Brandon in here in a minute. We'll talk about it. Wanted to clear something up. In fact, I'll bring Brandon and Matt in right now. Hi, guys. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. I've been watching and reading some of the feedback on our time that we had with Gary Jones in the show. Last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was it last week or week before that? I can't even remember now.
Last week.
Last week. Yeah. So I don't know what the confusion is on that. Why, if there is any, but there is, not if, there is. And what Gary said, and it had to do directly with, what's going on, why there's a shortage of trucks, which I stated right now, which there is. In fact, really now there is. Whereas before it was, propaganda, I think, for the most part. There really wasn't, but now there is. And the other part of why rates are going in directions that they're going. Now, that being said, you guys that were commenting and saying what you were saying, some of you, you're not wrong. Everybody's right in this thing. So I don't get the argument, there's layers of reasoning why the rates are doing what they're doing or should be doing. If they're not, they will. And that is due to the fact that, yes, there's trucks being pulled off the road finally, drivers being pulled off the road finally. There's all these things that are happening that are factoring in on this that are making it work out the way that it's working out. And it's a long time coming. Let's just face it. It is. That being said, there's really not an argument here. Everybody, if you listen to the whole conversation, probably will understand that. One of the biggest factors in this, I think, is that, the bad actors are finally being held accountable. And Gary's point was, about the Supreme Court decision to hold brokers responsible now for what they're doing and who they're working with. It's a complete union, a complete circle for everybody now. It's not pick up the phone, call, trucker company A, whoever that is, and give them a load. And then whatever happens. And that could include maybe the load makes it to wherever it's supposed to go. Maybe the driver, doesn't wreck or doesn't hurt himself or anybody else. Start adding in all the things that could possibly go wrong that would, before this decision, not have a broker accountable for any of this stuff. Now they are. And yeah, go ahead.
Where were you seeing stuff at? I'm sorry. Where were you seeing it at? I didn't.
Instagram on the 10-4 magazine Instagram account. I saw some stuff there, some comments.
Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah, I didn't know.
Just to say this too, because we were just talking about this before the show, and the public watching doesn't know this, but we were having a little chit chat here, as we always do, every week before we start the show. Matt's got some things going on with the federal government, and anything to do with the government's always a complicated process, and there's always a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah.
So this whole deal right now, everything to do with trucking is so heavily regulated that anything that we're dealing with, yes, there's a lot of different components that are creating what's happening. And like you said, John, the argument is there's a lot of different sides that are right, wrong, whatever, but most sides of this argument are right because
Yeah.
there's a lot of things happening that's creating what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just see, I posted, I think it was yesterday. He's been in business for over 40 years, and he couldn't get a load yesterday from a broker because he didn't have 3 recent DOT inspections. But yet, clean authority, no accidents, over 40 years of good conduct, and a broker didn't want to load him because he didn't have 3 DOT inspections. I mean, when was the last time you heard of that happening? I mean, brokers, forever didn't give a crap. If you had a pulse and a truck, you're getting loaded.
So that's the thing that, and I was talking to Chris Pfeiffe yesterday about this. That's the thing that's always kind of floored me about all of this is in my world when I was behind the wheel running trucks and drivers and working for whether a broker or a prime hauler, wherever I was getting a load from, man, I had to give them pretty much a sample of DNA, to get a load, dude. I mean, it was no joke. And
Yep.
I mean, everybody was an additional insured. We were carrying millions of dollars of insurance that we had to show for, and all this stuff. And every year it was the same routine. That's what you had to produce every year to be in the loop.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as something fell out of place, everybody gets notified that's on your additional insured list that you no longer have coverage or all these different things. And now they're calling you back and saying, hey, you're out of, compliance and we can't use you.
Mm-hmm.
So where things were before were that the brokers didn't care. And that's the bad actors. Okay.
Yeah.
Those guys are no longer going to, they're no longer going to be able to do that. So.
Well, it sucks too because guys like me that spent the better part of their trucking career avoiding DOT now are going to have to pull the scale and say, hey, give me an inspection. They're going to have to play along, and I'm really glad that I'm not in the business right now hauling freight because that goes against every belief I have. But
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of these guys are going to have to do it. I think it's a necessary evil, unfortunately.
Well, I also think people don't realize or don't think about it. What might be in one spot or one area is not the same story and same thing in another.
Yeah,
that could be true. I mean
that's the other thing. So
enforcement probably is different in different areas depending on how funded the enforcers are. California, where I was, eventually by the time we got to terminal inspections, they were being done by the CHP because the CHP was contracted by the Fed to do it.
right.
Once everything got turned over to them, there was no longer the same authority in California. So you had to have an MC number, which you never had to have before. And even though you weren't doing interstate freight, you still had to have the MC number. And we got it. We did everything we were supposed to do. And we were the first in San Joaquin County. And this is just random, totally, trust me. We were the first terminal inspection under federal authority by the CHP in San Joaquin County. And we passed and had some notes on there on things to work on to make better, but we passed and had pre-pass on all my trucks. So, inspections are random, and we used to get pulled in for those just because guys wanted to look at our trucks. We traveled in packs most of the time, and guys were similar or like trucks. And, we got some of the nicest trucks out on the road. These inspectors are like, well, let's get those guys in here, and sure enough, they'd pull us in. Now, for us to gripe about it, it was just futile because you get pulled in, but they were pulling us in just because of the trucks being nice. So it was a compliment, but at the same time, it's taking time from our day to come in there and, play show truck time. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that too, and they're going, "Hey, easy paperwork here. I'm gonna pull that guy in. It's Friday at 3 o'clock. I don't want to do paperwork this
Yeah.
last hour."
Nothing's going to fall off and drip on my head or anything like that. I'll tell you one time I had an inspection on a brand new truck, and I actually thanked the guy because he found an air leak on a brand new truck. There was a loose brake line on a chamber or something. I can't remember. And it would only have on a front brake. It only happened when you hit the brake. So there it was. And I'm like, and he just said, just get this tightened up and you're good to go. Okay. So that was actually kind of a good thing. I watched some of the stuff come across my screen from the scale houses that one yesterday on a trailer that they inspected, I think was might have been Grapevine. But anyway, guy's brake lines on his trailer were completely gone. They were rubbed through, and the guy had been under there because he tied them up back up to the chassis with a cell phone charge wire. So they knew that the guy had been under there and had done this, and this thing's just blowing air anyway. And then the officer that inspected the trailer said that they had talked to the mechanic that was going to come out and fix it, but it wasn't going to come out and fix it. He said, "Yeah, just tell him to dump his next load and then come on in and we'll take care of it." It ain't happening, buddy. You're on your
Right.
You're either on your way or this thing's getting towed. One or the other.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there. Anyway, credit to Gary Jones, and Gary, you did a great job on the show last week. Gary knew exactly what he was talking about. And the other comment was, hey, for the money that Gary was mentioning and what he shoots for, aims for, is making in a day, that's numbers probably going to be different for everybody. But I'm going to tell you what, the numbers he's shooting for right now are the numbers I was shooting for 15 years ago, 10 years ago in a day for a truck to make X amount of money. Period. That's what you got to have a goal. Your truck's got to make this much money in a day, every day. And if you do that, you carry yourself through the month and the law of averages, and generally there's going to be something that goes wrong that you're going to have to pay for along the way, something, whatever it is. And hopefully you've got that covered, and it's not going to be a huge crisis or a burden on you when it goes wrong and you get this expense in there, I mean, I don't know, tires for a set of drivers now, I can't even imagine. What would a set of drivers cost now?
Well, so it depends. It's like everything else, too now, because the parts market has changed so much that so many people are running, foreign tires at this point that the import tire market has just exploded. If you run imports, you're still looking at maybe
$800 to $1,500
a tire. So
yeah, $800. Keep going.
If you buy name brand, you're looking at $500, $600, $700 a tire.
Yeah.
So you can still.
I was just looking it up. It's just saying $800 to $1,500 depending on the load ratings. That's all. That's why it was saying.
Yeah.
It's
so I
that,
pay attention to tires. And right now, you can buy a foreign tire, a drive, depending on what you're looking for. Like a 24.5, you can buy for around $350, somewhere in there, for a foreign tire. Then an American tire, you're looking at like the starting price would be around $450 and up. So you can still maybe $3,500 somewhere in there put drive tires on. The rule of thumb for me was always it's pretty much $3,000 to put drive tires on. That was back, name brand tires. Now, name brand tires now you're probably looking at $4,000 or $5,000. I'd say.
I used to run Kelly drive tires on all my truck. And
KDAs.
KDAs. Yeah. And
great tires. That's all I used to run.
Yeah, and I never ran caps because we used to get money for our good casings. We used to get good money for them, And if you could keep that cycle going, you had, you got 100 back in a casing or more, and you really did offset costs quite a bit doing that. I mean,
absolutely.
You're doing 8 tires at once. I mean, you're gonna do something there. So, I don't know if that's the casing. By the way, the money in casings went completely away, I think, for the most part, at one point when I was involved. I don't know how it is now, but I can't even imagine. You guys chime in and let us know. We got Chris sitting in there. I'll
Good.
bring Chris Fife in, and he's probably listening to all this going, God, I'm glad I don't do this anymore. And when I did, it was the owner's responsibility. I would grab the wheel, mash the floor, and grab a gear and go, right?
No, I was sitting there editing a video, but I was listening to you guys as well. How y'all doing?
Yeah, no, I get it.
How are you, Chris?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good to
Thanks
have
for
you
having
on
me
this
the
morning.
show.
Welcome to the morning drive.
Thank you.
So you had a weekend out in Indiana. That we're going to talk about that this weekend at the Dickerson Custom Trucks. What did they officially call the show? Mid America something?
The Midwest Truck Fest.
Midwest Truck Fest. There you got a catchy name.
And one of the reasons that they had by Dickerson Custom Trucks at the end is that there is another Midwest Truck Fest, so they just needed to differentiate themselves from that.
How dare there be anybody else out there like that?
I know.
What the hell? Well, as a lot of you know, and those of you that do not, Chris has been in the industry quite a long time, as I said, and Chris and I, we overlap in some of the things that we do and some of the things we don't. We do differently, whatever we do overlap in, and Chris is a very forward and innovative guy in the industry and what he has done over the years, and especially with the rolling CB interview, which was one of probably the biggest things out there that got your name and recognition out there in the industry, don't you think, Chris?
Yes. And I just saw Ryan and Wade Lalone at the Midwest Truck Fest, and we were reminiscing because the backstory about that is pretty funny. But yeah, the Rolling CB interview is one of the favorites, and almost every video that I post, I'll go back and I'll look at the comments, and somebody will be in the comments going like, "That would make for a good Rolling CB interview," or
yep.
"I hope there's more Rolling CB interviews going to be posted soon." So yeah, it's fun.
No, I think it is something that a lot of folks aspire to try to emulate, and of course, what do you do? You see yourself in a lot of what's out there now. I mean, on social media, when you look around.
Yeah. So technology is caught up with me. Technology is available to the masses. Gosh, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you had to know. You had to be in the know, just like you guys were talking about tires and recaps and things like that, and being able to get money for that or whatever. You had to be in the know for the industry. So 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you had to know specifically what you're looking for. You're going to look for a 3CCD broadcast camera with all the bells and whistles and stuff like that. Now you can walk across the street to Best Buy and pick up, the same gear that I would use now, because it's all gotten smaller and smarter and more convenient. So I enjoy filmmaking now because it's a lot easier.
Well, I mean, the things that you were doing at the time when you were doing them, and as I've come through the industry myself, you're experimenting. I mean, there was stuff that was out there that it was on the market and nobody really had it wasn't called anything, but there it was, and you kind of went, that'd be really good for this, or that'd be really good for that. And now, there's companies out there like Small Rig. I mean, I go to those guys. They're probably one of the biggest micro studio innovators out in the industry right now that I know of. DJI for the electronics part of it, but they're also innovating huge. DJI is just those guys, man. I mean, I was looking at one of their solar power stations that they've got out there now, and there's a bunch of those out there too. But we could you and I could geek out on this stuff and for hours, but just in the industry, it has really grown up with and around us. And like say, if you go to Amazon, man, you can go in and get all this stuff. Now, here's the thing, and this is where we have our conversations, and Brandon, you've seen, and we've been a part of this together too in the conversations. It all is fun and games until what? Till it becomes work.
Yeah.
And this weekend, you were in the midst of it, man. You you were at a show and doing a setup there that it's not your usual deal, and it was a new setup, and you were there to capture the events or some of the action, and tell us about what went on there. And I've got some pictures here to share with everybody when we kind of go through this too.
Well, actually, so I was streaming the drag racing for Friday, so folks can get an understanding of what's going on, knowing that Saturday they can still come back to the show or get to the show and enjoy drag racing as well. So I had a 3-camera setup, but John, actually back in the day, I say back in the day, gosh, early 2000s, multi-camera, recording was part of the process that I offered to companies. So this is well before I did anything in the truck space. So it went back to having, fixed cameras on stage or in the audience, right, and your mixer and your audio feed and all of that. It's just become more, really, I guess, streamlined. So
that word covers two things: streamlined and streaming. Whereas before in the early 2000s, you weren't streaming, you were recording, right?
Yeah, yeah. Everything had to either you ran it over a BNC connection or over, Cat 5 wasn't a thing, but Super VHS, you'd have to have 100 feet of that and run it back to the camera, and sound. You can send that over wireless or whatever, but right. it was cutting edge back then and fun to do. But now you can, there's a lot of ways to do things now, so it's fun.
Well, I mean, what we do and your setup, and I'm going to show folks here in a second, your board setup the way you had it. That setup that you have in this picture that I'm going to bring up is, like I said to you yesterday, it's the same setup we were doing when we were broadcasting and live streaming high school football. And to think about that particular setup, and I'm going to bring it up right now. This setup, that right there, and that goes out to other cameras that are in the field, down on the track, wherever they're at. Well, it replaces a whole truck that used to be about a $750,000 setup that they would drive out on site and have everything. It was their production studio in a truck that they used to, send the signal via satellite back to wherever it was going to go to the TV station. And in fact, during our broadcast, we had that same, the trucks would show, one guy would show up, was a local cable affiliate guy. And he came and saw our stuff and he's like, what in the hell is all this? He couldn't believe it. And this guy's in the industry. So there's guys like us, man, you innovated in an industry that nobody done that before. There was no roadmap, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, I guess I call it a gap. There was a gap there and I kind of saw where that gap was. So I'm like, well, let me just take the experience that I have, doing things for other businesses, non-trucking related, just, put that experience in that gap. And so even now, the funny thing about that photo, I was joking to myself when I sent it to you yesterday, going like, man, if I'd known this was going to be used anywhere, I would have cleaned up all those wires. But, it is what it is. But, the technical aspect is still fun when you look at what's there.
It is.
Two streaming networks or two networks available with the ability to have 3 networks, for a strong streaming signal, the ability to, transmit, a video signal right there. It's only going like maybe, let's call that 800 feet, but the ability to go 3,000 feet with a video signal with audio with zero latency is just amazing. And to bring in 2 video signals into the same receiver, and then bring that into a portable mixer that allows you to do, that takes the place of that truck that it doesn't take place, but it would complement, that truck that you're talking about. So it does a lot of heavy lifting right there in that one little box, and to be able to monitor things. So I can go on and on about it, but it's just, like I said before, it's made, my work more enjoyable because I can do a little more, a little faster, and with, I guess a little quicker. Well, same thing as faster, but as far as setups and things like that.
Well, and in the world, and we both are walking over the same parking lot sometimes every year. Mid-America, we're both over there, and you know, the challenges that we have to endure sometimes, it's got nothing to do with you and me, Chris and John, or it's all about being able to work within the environment that we're walking around in. And what I mean by that is the network is overtaxed. It's hugely overtaxed. There's only so much bandwidth available to all of us, and I mean, everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's doing whatever they're doing on it, whether they're talking, texting, picture, video, all the above, and then there's all of us that are streaming now, that are trying to stream. So I guess, breaking some of what you said down, when you're bonding networks together to get a stronger signal, you're taking a little from each to try to get one super signal so that you can have a constant good feed going out to the internet, or coming in and out, and getting a good quality show out there for everybody. So it's not as easy as everybody thinks. There's a lot of moving parts.
Right. And that option never used to be available like it is now. 5 years ago, you have to pay thousands of dollars to have that sort of infrastructure available to you. Now it's still expensive, but it's a whole lot more accessible.
I was just reading over here. MHC Chemworth, how you guys doing? Good morning to you. I'm laughing because I've talked to these guys before. Maybe not this particular dealer, but I've talked to these guys before. They're always Johnny on the spot to get in there, man. But this is good actually. So anybody wants to, I'll throw it up there. Hey, if you guys want tacos, who doesn't want tacos? On a truck wash, I guess. Hey, come get some.
Man.
So there
I need
you
to be
go.
in East Texas right now.
Yeah, I mean, there you go, man. And Chris, you and I have had many conversations about where the industry in our world, more hyper focused in our world, is going and gone. At this point, I mean, a couple of things, let's go with this one. Do we have enough truck shows yet?
They're still coming. They're still every month there's new truck shows, and that's great because similar to what I was just talking about, the ability to be able to condense things and make things a lot easier. The same thing with being able to self-promote and folks understanding that they can help their own community within the next state over, and let's call it a 500-mile range. You bring in the community to to help in their area, as opposed to going across the country to attend a show. So it's a good thing. And one of the things I talked with, I spoke with Paul Marhofer briefly about this. He did a story for, I think it was Overdrive. Don't quote me on that, but basically, the shows that raised money, he wanted to create a list for those shows that created
nonprofits,
that took in money and affected nonprofits. So it'll be interesting to see how much these shows generate for nonprofits all across the country for the year. That in itself is a really good thing. So yeah, the more shows, the better, because we're all enjoying them, and it makes it easier to go like, well, what's going on this weekend, a state away, and be able to get there.
Well, let me first say too, and on our side of it, all nonprofits are not created equal. There's a lot of factors into well, how does this one generate 150,000 or 200,000 and and this one not so much. Well, I'm not going to go into why, but trust me, they're not all created equal. But I agree with you to extent. The hyper local truck show focus has become more of the landscape, and that is not taking away from anything really. It gives everybody within set your range. Are you a 100-miler? Are you a 500-miler? What's your range? How far are you willing to go? And everybody, I think, with that has probably been given a truck show to go to, or whether as a spectator or a competitor, because there's so many truck shows. You know, and there's a bunch. I mean, and yeah, they keep coming, it seems like, and some peel off and maybe, you know, come back as, you know, reinvigorated, which is always probably a good thing too. I mean, there's just, it's a constantly changing landscape. Good morning out there, everybody, by the way. And Jamie's in the show, and a few others of you guys that I see in here. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us on the morning drive. And this morning we got Chris Fifey with Big Rig Videos, and of course, co-host Brandon, and our favorite memory guy Matt over here with us again as well. Next on the you know, what do you think about it now? What about how Meta has kind of gone the way of putting its own? What they've done is they've turned everybody into a creator. You are now a creator. Thank you for joining Meta. You're a creator. So everybody took that I think took that to heart, and they've decided, well, we've been given orders. We've been given a charge of, it's time for us to go create. Well, okay. You take it from there.
Yeah, I got some thoughts on that.
I know you do.
Creators, aka pawns, to make a vehicle for advertising.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to sell advertising, and the way they sell advertising, they got to have some sort of video content or an image to attach that advertising to. So they can't sell advertising if they don't have anything to attach it to. So therefore, we all are creators now, just by proxy. But I was talking to someone, when you look at what this creator status does, and if it's monetized, it's pennies. Yeah, and it can really be, I would like to say, potentially damaging, because you look at, you know, something that you post and you're like, oh wow, I got, like, you know, a couple of dollars for that post, or $20 for that post, or let me do that again, and let me do that again, and do it again. And so now you're posting this stuff, you know, and I'm guilty of it too. That's what I do for a living. I post things on the internet, as well as, you know, properly create video pieces for companies for marketing. But the byproduct is it goes on the internet. But when you're looking at this and you go like, well, let me post some more because I'm going to get some money for this. So you think back to the day back in the day where you had the image of the donkey, and there was a carrot hanging in front of the donkey to motivate the donkey to keep moving, to keep walking. So what's happening, my thought is that this creator status and the things that go along with these posts and these little rewards is like that carrot to keep people going, to keep them posting and keep posting. Well, let me give you a couple cents for that post. So that's my thought on that. So my main takeaway is, you know, I'll post content because it feels good, because you guys are doing something awesome or whatever. It's not for the money, because the you know, for the average people, that money isn't the same as some of the others that have exploded on platforms and different things. So that's my take on that.
Brandon, what's your take on this? And I know you got one in there, man. I'd love to hear about it, because, you know,
my take on it is to a certain extent I hate it, because it's gotten to the point now where, you know, I think it also gives some people this false sense of it's kind of like what, you know, Chris was saying with the carrot in front of the donkey thing, that these young folks get on these platforms now, and, you know, they're constantly thinking that they're going to make it big or whatever it is, you know, because they get this little bit of money, and it's like they're looking for, it's no different than a drug addict, you know, they're looking for their next fix. Okay, well, what's the next big thing I can post? You know, what's going to be the thing that's going to make me this money? And it never comes. You know, it just, for some people it does. I mean, naturally, you know, there is some people that have made it, but it's kind of like, you know, you hear it all the time. Everybody wants to be a rapper. Well, there can only be so many rappers in the world, you know, and some of this gets to the point where it's like, I think it destroys some young folks, because they spend too much time chasing something that just is just fictional. It doesn't really exist. I mean, it's there, but it's not there for the way they need it to be to work for them.
Well, that's the idea. That carrot is just always out of reach. It's just
and So yeah, some of it, I mean, for some people it's great. I mean, don't get me wrong, some people do very well off of it. I do decent off of it. It's just like a little sideline thing for me, whenever I do it, that hey, it's great. It's like me, I can, go buy Christmas gifts or something at the end of the year with it, whatever, it's just a nice little account that money gets thrown into, and I don't really pay that close attention to it. But for so many, it's like a thing that they're trying to achieve, and I just feel like it's kind of a false sense. And then as well as I do, what are the metrics that control it? I don't think any of us can answer that. How is it that you can post something and you get all these reactions and all these likes to it, and it makes 5 cents, and then you post something else that hardly got anything, and it makes $1? It just, so much of it doesn't make sense. I think Facebook ultimately, that's the thing too. You don't ever want to live off those people because they're going to control it. They're going to
Yeah.
control that, and I feel like if you're making too much money, they're gonna start knocking it back. Like, we can't talk to anybody from there, so none of us really know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do, and in response to that, the people I talk to, they barely know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Now, yeah. So I mean, I've called with problems, and in talking to them, came up with my own solutions, and that's not the first time with any other company. There's companies out there you call for tech support, and you're like, okay, I know more than you do. Why am I talking to you? Who's the next guy up? Is there another guy up? Or is this just where people come to die?
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with Facebook. I mean, you see it all the time. People's accounts get hacked. There's no real communication with anyone at Facebook that actually seems to know what's going on or how the company works.
TikTok's
or anything,
that way too.
Yeah, they're all that way. Yeah, they're all that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
was probably the digital age was the originator of we got customer support. It's called no support.
Yeah.
Well, and look, it's not all as bad as that, but it is pretty bad. I mean, seriously, when you have things that you should, if you're supposedly in this, relationship with, because they're making money, we're supposed to be, but they're making money. They're providing the platform. We're supposed to be making money off of it, and so are they. But yeah, they're just there for them. Trust me, guys. They're not your friends. I think the other part of this too is, the influencer, the creator. There's a lot of different strategy in this, and people wonder why, and I actually have answers to why. And one of them is, why do you see so many people, same people with so many different accounts? Well, there's a couple of reasons. And one of them is that they have multiple accounts because they are creating multiple income streams. In case one of them ever gets flagged, they got the other one to go to. While one's in jail, the other one's still generating. And they keep doing that, and just there's more and more and more and more. The other is the fake accounts that are out there that people are taking your stuff that you make, video, pictures, anything you generate, any content you generate, and they're stealing it and putting it into their account and using it to generate money, acting like it's that person.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be pretty simple for us, huh, Chris? It was like, hey, somebody stole your video and they wiped out your your logo off of it, but they're using your content, and that was like that just kind of came with the territory. Now it's a whole different level, right?
Yeah. So there used to be a really effective form that you could use to report infringing video pieces or whatever it is. You fill it out, and you the link to your original, the link to the file that had been, that's infringing, stolen, or whatever. And within the day, you could get that video taken down. So there is a Facebook page that has just popped up that is doing the same thing with my older videos or even current videos. And so I looked at that at first, and I'm like, oh, wow, you're using the same, profile image, the same cover thing or whatever.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, well, they threw an extra G or an extra whatever in the name. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's time to sign up for the blue check mark for the page to be verified for that. And so I looked at what that entailed. Oh yeah, you get impersonation, support and all of this stuff. And so I signed up for it, filled out the form beforehand. You linked about 15 or 20 videos. And if you did that, 5 or 6 years ago, if you linked that many videos, they would just go ahead and nuke the whole page, and then the page would just disappear. So it's been like 2 weeks since I filled out that form with about 15, infringing or stolen videos, and nothing from anyone. So I can get a call. I can request a call from Facebook, within a couple of minutes through being verified. Right. So you can talk to someone, but just like what you're saying a minute ago, John, that person doesn't really know much. They're the gatekeeper. They're just trying to, do you need to go left or do you need to go right to their other specialized teams? And those specialized teams, those are the ones that you never get to talk to. But I just kind of thought about this morning that, since those videos that I posted, they're branded, watermarked and everything, I had to move the watermark to the center. I never liked using watermarks to begin with. So it ruins the visual image, in my opinion. You're filming something and you're doing it right, and you're doing it with the best, cameras, the best sound, and you got to put a watermark on it in order, so people can understand that, hey, this is where it came from because it's been taken and put somewhere else. But anyway, going back to the person that's re-uploading the stuff, I'm thinking, it's not so bad because they're just pushing this brand further, so it's not like, I'm not in the videos all the time. You hear my voice, but it's everyone else's message. There's usually a good message that's out there. So they're just helping to build a great message for the trucking industry. And now we're talking about what the income is or what you get paid for these videos. It's pennies. So I'm like, at some point, this person's going to give up because they're going to realize that they're not going to be making very much from re-uploading these videos. So have at it. Help build a brand. Spread the message. So here's that.
Well, and I think that's a valid point and process. It happens, and I see it that way too. I've talked to other influencers out there that specifically that's what they are. They're influencers, and they know it. They've got certain assets that they can put in play that make them valuable as an influencer, and brands will attach themselves to them. And they're out there doing it, and they've got fake accounts out there that, like you said, it's pushing their stuff out there. So, in most cases, though, sometimes I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. If they cut your brand out and they just use the image, now where are you? They've generated something for themselves. If there's no narrative in there that says where it came from, who it is, what it is, that kind of thing. Okay, it got eyes on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will say this though. Facebook does have a rights manager, and you might be familiar with it, John. So within this rights manager, it started where, again, probably 4 years ago or something like that. You'd have to upload a reference file. So let's say, and it's a pain in the butt. So let's say you did like a 15-minute video, you posted it online. So now you got to upload another version of this again. And so if a person didn't have a good upload speed, it's really time consuming. And so now what this right manager does, it allows you to say, hey, well, you just posted 5 videos. Well, we can go ahead and, just shift those videos over as reference files. And so it saves you time, but you can make these, these settings, in terms of when the video is identified, you can say, hey, I want this action to happen, and this action to happen. So for mine, basically, hey, well, someone stole the video, well, and it's, seen as mine, well, monetize it. I want credit for it. So on the video, it says, hey, this is where this video came from, stuff like that. Or you can automatically block it or, put it up for, review or something like that. So the rights manager does help. So if there's someone out there that is not aware of that, go ahead and look into that, because it at least give you some peace of mind that eventually these videos will be identified, and then an action can automatically be taken if you want.
Yeah. I think
it's another process you got to go through. It's another thing you got to do. It's added to, every time you do something, you got to do 3 more things to protect it. So
Yep,
someone
yep.
doesn't. Well, here's what I will tell you real quick. What I've realized, a lot of these companies are, and I know it's getting better, they're trying to use AI for stuff. And AI is good, but I don't know. AI is not good on some of this stuff. I mean, I've had stuff get flagged and things like that. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not even what that is,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever. So I don't know.
AI is out there. It's in play, and it's probably, you know, a great part of what Chris is talking about the copyright check. You know, the ownership check, rights check. Same thing for music. You know, it's been around for a long time on that level, and now they're using it for imagery, whether pictures or videos. So, which is a good thing. Again, you know, if it's like
When
anything
it
else
works
we have.
right.
What's
When it
that?
works right. When it works
Well,
right,
when
it's
it
a good
works right,
thing.
that's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like any of the tools that we have access to. We have to. There's some time involved setting it up, making it work right, and if you can get it to do that, then you've done the process. That's the process, is putting in the time to get it to work right, to do what it's supposed to do as advertised. Meta and other companies are out there. Basically, we are the you know, we're the guinea pigs, man. We're
Yeah.
out there to do the legwork. You know, whatever it takes to make it work, we're it. You know, we're the free workforce. But hey, we're influencers. We're creators. We're content creators, right?
What's interesting to me is think, all right, so put this into perspective and think about this. So, you know, this is the classical thing that always happens also. It seems that, you know, in history, this is a reoccurring thing that these companies grow very, very large. This is a uncharted territory in my opinion. But what Chris said about the donkey, you know, with the carrot in front of it, okay, think about the old grist mill where they used to use the donkey, you know, walking around in a circle, and they literally would hang the carrot in front of its face and
Mm-hmm.
it would grind the feed. Okay, so the guy makes all the money off the feed, and then one day he becomes a millionaire, you know, and he's like, hey, I don't need this feed mill anymore, this is too much work. Closes the feed mill, and the donkey's left with, well, sorry about your luck, buddy. Like, whatever, you know, thanks for doing all that work. Thanks for making me all that money.
Yeah.
See ya. Well, what's going to happen with Facebook in the future? Because the other thing is that that's what the donkey was trained to do. That's the only thing that donkey knew how to do. So it's not like the donkey then goes on and goes, well, all right, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do this now. So we've created a generation of Facebook addicted children and adults. So what happens whenever Facebook Marketplace isn't there anymore? What happens, you know, Facebook? It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in social media land in the future, because these companies only last so long. So does something else rise up and take its place? Does it die? What happens?
Let's
Right.
look at what happens when there's an outage somewhere and everyone's like, hey, is your Facebook working, or is the marketplace working? Or it becomes like, oh, you know, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can really tell who's addicted at that point, because everybody's on there asking, man, is Facebook okay? I think
Yeah.
Marketplace is down.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so let's turn this over, and it as to related as to the trucking world. Guys on the road all day long, and you know, now it's time to catch some sleeper time and you know, be a human for a bit. Um, they're on some sort of device, man, and it truly is the connection to the world that they have. It's the portal to the world that they have. So that's the good side of this. It keeps somebody, you know, in contact with people they know, want to be in touch with, part of a network, part of a group, whatever it is. So there's some good stuff involved in it, you know. I mean, right? It's not all bad. I mean, Chris and I could beat this thing to death because there's, you know, so many challenges that we go through on a daily basis with it. But and everybody in here, I mean, but Chris, what do you think? I mean, there is the good side, right?
There absolutely is, and you know, as you guys are talking, I'm automating some things right now. You know, so there you have to look at the usage of things. So everyone and every decade have these new things show up. You know, from the television, you know, the horse, the this and that, the other. So now we're dealing with the AI. Smart devices were a 2008 thing, but we're dealing with AI. And I thought that, oh my gosh, it's going to replace, you know, me. And I'm like, okay, well, let me think about this. Let me think about how this could be used to my benefit. So basically, I have little assistants, virtual assistants to
Yeah.
help with things.
Right.
And it's just a matter of thinking about how can these new workflows benefit someone. And if you think about it, there are some benefits, and there obviously there's always things. There's some negatives that people would use and exploit, but for the most part, I think a guy just needs to think it through when it comes to keeping in touch. You guys out on the road and being able to keep in touch with family, that's super valuable. But at the same time, there's a lot of benefits there for them. But it's just a matter of time for us to see more, I guess, automated agents that would help in the trucking industry. I can't wait to see that. Not so much the whole self-driving stuff. I'm not for that. But when it comes to helping a guy, a single owner operator or a small team or something like that, small family run business, for them to get some automation and to make them more proficient, that would be amazing.
Well, I think all in the right time and the right place and right amounts, it can all come together and work. We have to, like you are talking about right here, specifically focus in on what can it do for you. And trust me, I think a lot of us are in that same mode of, depending on what we are doing, is AI going to, kick me out of a job? And, not at this point, but there's certainly parts to it that can help us do our job, but we still have to be in control of it, I think, and make it work. Absolutely. What's going on with you and coming up? I mean, you did the show in Indiana. Incidentally, just your quick take on the Midwest Truck Fest. How'd that all turn out?
I was excited when I first heard about it, because when you take trucking and racing and good looking trucks, you can't go wrong. So I'd never been to the Lucas Oil Raceway. Again,
cool place.
Other events are held there, but it was a great event. Really well laid out. The Dickersons and the team and everybody involved with helping bringing that show together, I think they nailed it. For it being the first year, if I had to rate it, on the scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 9. The only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 is because folks didn't know about it, and so someone could look at some of the photos or whatever and go like, well, there's nobody there or whatever. There was good foot traffic, but when you compare it to other shows that have been going for years, you would think that, oh, there's nobody there. So with it being a first year show, no one knows what to expect. The people that did show up, they came for a good time and had a good time. I can only expect that it would be larger next year, because now it's been visualized through all of the folks that are over there, like myself and all the other folks and stuff that's in social media. So it was a good time.
Good deal. Well, the production is available if you guys want to check it out on your YouTube channel from what you shot on Friday, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
And you can check that out at Big Rig Videos. It's there and available. Chris did a multi-camera production from Friday, and I checked it out myself while I was doing some stuff on the live, and we caught some trucks running down the track and some overshots of the lot where the trucks were parking, so you get a pretty good idea of what's going on out there. What do you got coming up?
Well, I'm currently sitting in Bristol, Tennessee, because I thought to myself, well, there's no reason to head back to Florida. I need to be in Georgia next week. My son is graduating from Army Ranger boot camp. So I thought, well, let me swing over here to Bristol, Tennessee, and I'm going to peek my head through the door and see what's going on over at Super Rigs. So I'll pop up over there tomorrow at some point, and maybe Friday, to see what's going on over there before heading to Georgia.
Congratulations on that. So he's graduating, and is he already, is it still called an MOS? Has he already got something he's expert at, or in a place that he's going and all that kind of stuff?
Well, he has some ideas where he may go. One of the things that he wanted to change was the MOS for drones and drone, I guess, I don't know the official title for it, but
Sure.
he was
The job title for that drone stuff. Yeah. Right.
yeah. So it's relatively new, but out of the 250 that they had tested and allowed to take a part of this, he ranked one of 5 that was assigned for advanced training in, I guess, drone building and infrastructure, however they're going to do it. I'll know more when I see him, because he'll be going into that.
Right.
Well, he would have gone into it by the time I see him.
So is he going to be Rangers? Aren't they based out of where the 82nd or the 101st? Aren't they based out of one of those bases?
I can't say for sure, because with that drone MOS, there is a talk about Arizona potentially or North Carolina. So
yeah,
it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those sit back and wait and see kind of things. Because
yeah, 80. That's where 82nd is. Yeah, they're in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. I had a son-in-law that was with them, and his brother was in the 101st. They didn't. They were both airborne, but in different camps. So, well, congrats, man. You pretty proud of them, huh? That's quite a jump from motocross to Ranger. I mean, wow.
Yeah. He surprised us all with some of the. He did some of the hell days before even enlisting, and so he surprised us all with his determination and ability to go through those simulated hell days, and even through some of the stuff. The first wave, I think they call it turning green. Some of the stuff that he'd tell us, and I'm like, holy crap, you actually did that? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. He's definitely a determined young man. Very, very obvious. If he made it through Ranger School, he's one of the few. That's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Well, it's the equal. I mean, the SEALs will never admit it, I guess, but that's equal to what Navy SEALs are. Our Army Rangers are in that category of elite, right?
Yes, but they would never admit that.
That's right. No. Exactly. So, all right. Well, everybody out there, you know what? If you're in the area there at Bristol and want to go back to Bristol, where recently Large Cars and Guitars was, go back and hang out and see what's going on with the Shell Super Rigs, maybe. In the meantime, Chris, thanks for dropping in on us, man. I appreciate the time, and we helped you pass some time in the motel there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was strategic, being back here at this hotel, because I can look right through the window and see what's going on 81. So before long here, there'll be some pictures showing up from the camera of what's passing, up in I guess north and south on 81.
All right. Always a look into the world from the Big Rig video camera that's out there on the road somewhere, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, Chris, take care, buddy, and look forward to catching up with you again soon, and best of luck out there to you.
Yep. Thanks for having me on the show. I'll see you all guys. See you later.
All right.
See you.
All right, guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Brandon, what's going on with you, man? Any news you want to share?
Man, everything, as always. As you know, I'm a man that wears a lot of hats, so
Yes, you are.
I don't know whether I'm coming or going. I can't tell you 5 minutes from now what I'm doing 5 minutes later. It's a lot going on around this place. So
you
big things happening, as you know, a lot of exciting things happening.
Yep.
Very excited for the future. We've got some great things in the wings, I'll say, and
nice one.
We're cooking right along. So
and you're pretty integral part of John Hiley and his bus. So got him coming up.
Yep, John's on the road. I see he's headed down to Memphis, I believe, and out on the bus, getting to do what he loves to do. I'm so proud of that guy. It's great to see. It's one thing, we all work our whole lives, for something. It's great to see a guy actually out living his dream.
Yeah.
Looks like, was Brandon on a timer?
Camera went out. Yeah.
camera died. Hey, Chris, it was a pleasure having Chris on. You're more than welcome. And by the way, everybody, be sure and check out all of Chris's different channels and things that he's got going on out there, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, the various media sources that you can be a part of. So Brandon must have been on a timer, and maybe he's going to bring himself back in. Matt, what about you, buddy? How things going? What you got coming up?
Oh, I've got summer. I'm retired. I try to do what little bit of what I don't need to be doing. I don't know. It's just been a lot for me trying to realign everything, and we've got so much stuff to do here and trying to get people to do it. My kids are all older, so it's like I keep kicking around in my head. I'm gonna have to pay somebody to come help me do stuff here. But no, well, yeah.
Enjoy what you can and get done what you need to. When I opened the show this morning, it's funny. I played the intro and I'm like, God, that was the one thing I didn't get to yesterday. But I promise I'm gonna get to that. We're gonna get us a decent intro going on here. But that one, the generic intro is it's there and at least it gets the show going. So
right.
Not sure yet next week, but I've got some stuff in the irons and the fires. They say it is 4th of July week next week, so we'll see what we can get going on next Wednesday morning. Week after that, though, we'll have John Hiley in the studio, and we'll be talking with him and getting updated on that bus of his. And I guess Brandon is gone, so I'll let you go too, and I will catch up with you later. All right.
I appreciate it.
All right, everybody.
Later. Yep.
Catch you later. JT here saying this afternoon got Joe Eldridge. Joe will be in studio with the weekly update, and Joe Eldridge, if you're like, who's Joe Eldridge? Truck Show Joe, if you don't know, is going to be our guest on the weekly update this afternoon. And look forward to having him in. Joe's kind of an interesting cat. I've worked with him on a couple of different things at a couple of different places. One of which, the last times that we worked together, Mid-America with J.R. Schlugger and myself and Truck Show Joe out in the parking lot, and we were out there doing an interview, and this was 2 years ago, so it's been a while. But I did see Joe at the show this year, I should say, and we're going to get caught up with him today. All right, we'll be back this afternoon. Everybody, take care. JT saying, keep the shiny side up. We will see you later.